Today I'd love to share a bit of one of my favorite mini collections. My curious cat may want to join as well, but I have here my collection of antique La Vie Parisienne magazines from the First World War. I love collecting full magazines. I think it gives you so much insight into how the magazines put together, the advertisements, the articles, and I don't want to incentivize taking apart these pieces. Oftentimes you'll just find cover or centerfold illustrations, and I think it's so sad to lose the context of these amazing pieces of art. I'm particularly interested in the First World War and how the war was portrayed on the home front that was, of course, France at the time. So I try to focus my collection just on that 1914 to very early 1919 time period. But you can see here that this is the 53rd year by 1915, so this is a very long-running publication that is probably better known as more of a risque boudoir magazine from the flapper era. I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 magazines stretching from 1915 to 1919, New Year's after the end of the war. All of my magazines I keep in acid-free UV protective plastic, and I put them on acid-free archival boards to help give them structure so they don't get any additional tears or folds. Now, I'd love to start by showing you all this particular edition, as it is my absolute favorite in my collection. So I'll move these beauties out of the way so we can see it a little bit better. This is, of course, the Saturday, 21st of December, 1918 edition. And I just think it's so stunning. So one thing, just right off the bat, that you might notice seeing all of these here together that you wouldn't get if you're just collecting individual pieces, is that all 3 of these back-to-back magazines, or almost back-to-back, have the same ink colors. I just think that's fascinating. So you'll see this in the magazine as well. The cover and back cover illustrations often have the most color plates, and then the illustrations inside will have this or fewer colors. So we have this gorgeous salmony pink and this very sweet powdery blue. And when you layer these really rich, almost black, deep blues, and these lovely grays. So I think they all look so stunning paired together. This cover here is just so perfectly in line with what I love about Vie Parisienne from this time period. This is by Georges Leonic, who is one of my favorite artists from this run. And as you can see, it's just these really gorgeous, captivating women who always seem to be having a lot of fun and seem to be very commanding. They're very involved and not just little ingenues. They seem to be kind of large and in charge. And the men are always so doting and soft and emotionally, I guess, vulnerable and just really beautiful. So we have Le Noël de la France, Merci. So Marianne, the personification of France, and a poilu, the quintessential French soldier from the First World War, celebrating Christmas after the end of the war, which is just amazing. Inside here, I love to see different advertisements. I think it's such a little peek behind the curtain of what people were interested in at the time and who might have been reading this magazine. You can see at the top they have the upcoming prices for the next year, which is a year for 40 francs. And then they have foreign subscribers for 50 francs. Of course, this is the end of the war, so you can see a lot of English as well, which I think is really fascinating. They must have had a big contingent of readers who were British, American, Canadian, or, English-speaking soldiers stationed in France at the time. And I think that is so cool. And again, just a little peek of who might have been reading this. This in particular I think is so fun. This is a flex belt corset designed for officers and men of British and American expeditionary forces, which protects the abdomen against sudden changes of temperatures, holds the kidney, and makes sure you have a correct, smart, and manly figure in sporting carriage. So I love, first off, of course, it's not just a female garment. Men at the time wanted that waspy waist as well. And not just an item of vanity, but don't worry, it'll hold your kidneys in, keeps you from changes in temperature. It's a health garment, don't worry. I feel like things like that really still ring true today, which is really fun. Here we have Anti, which is kind of their little write-in segment of not full articles, but little odds and ends of the goings on. Of course, a lot about Victory Day and the end of the war. And some more amazing advertisements. Again, a lot about the war, which I think is really fascinating. So here, this Bisonneau is advertising their connection to the war. So talking about, they have aviation hangars and tents and different waterproof canvas. So you could tell that this was definitely something read by soldiers. There are also, of course, advertisement for capes, which are the hats worn by soldiers at the time, boots, raincoats, and here trench boots as well, with more English. But we also see, really interestingly enough, that there are some advertisements towards women as well. So while this has the reputation of being kind of a body magazine, they do have some kind of female clientele, and I think this time period is a bit more liberated, a bit more scandalous and free thinking than we like to think. And, you know, maybe women love seeing beautiful women having fun and doing slightly risky things as well. So here, this is for women who suffer from different maladies. There's a vegetable pill that you could take, and then we have some different beauty treatments as well. Here again, some more amazing art. I love women at the time. They had these tiny little shoes and this really tightly coiffed, tight curls. I just think they're so pretty. This is Le Monde Renversé, the world reversed, which must have felt very true, of course, by the end of the war. I love the winter fashion of the time as well. Super cute furs. You can see that on this particular edition as well. So cute. So cute. And along with articles and different short stories, you also have different cartoons throughout the magazine. This is the return of the prisoner. We have a lady here with her maid. She says, "He's coming home tonight. How should I receive him? What should I wear? How about my red pajama set?" She goes, "Oh, madam, it's a little bit masculine." "All right, you're right. How about this evening gown?" And she goes, "It's a bit ceremonious, madam." "How about my tailored suit?" "Ce n'est pas très intime. It's not very intimate." "Ah, I know. I could receive them in my kimono." "Un peu vieux jeu, le kimono. It's a little bit old-fashioned, the kimono." "Well, then what should I wear? What should I do? I'm racking my head." She goes, "Oh, madame, receive him just like this, simply." Of course, in just her negligee. So I think it's so cheeky, so fun. We have these amazing, stylish, very daring women, but they're really in on the joke. I think in later time periods you get more the blushing ingenue who's embarrassed or doesn't realize she's being coquette about things, but this time period I love that the women are so large and in charge and just having fun, and they know that they're hot stuff. So I think it's just really cute, really cute. They flirt du guerre. The conquering love. Now this is probably my favorite illustration of any magazine that I have in my collection. I actually love this so much that I found a single page of it and have it hanging in my bedroom. But it's just absolutely stunning. This is my favorite artist, Chérie Erroit, from all of the runs of La Vie Parisienne. I love how he handles fabric. I love how he draws women. They're just so stunning and delicate. These big rosy cheeks, tiny little hands. And he is fascinated by historical dress. So you see a lot from him in this time period of different periods throughout French history, which is exactly what we have here. It says, Les marins de jadis aux héros d'aujourd'hui. So, the godmothers of yesterday and the heroes of today, which is so fascinating and spectacular. This is the kind of stuff I love, seeing how we're representing the war. We have calling back to the glory days of French history, heroism, and kind of the knightly morals in what's really a very modern, terrifying kind of a war that changed the way the world worked in so many ways. So we have all of these amazing, fantastical fairy godmothers up at the top, from the Middle Ages through to the 16th, 17th century, with these amazing big lace. And then we have the 18th century Rococo with their powdered wigs. And then later into the early 19th century, Napoleonic era, the Bridgerton era, these beautiful kind of Greco-Roman inspired fashions. Through to the mid-19th century, amazing hair at the time, these big sleeves, out through to the Victorian era, and of course, today, which is the 1910s, we have this heroic poilu going over the top in the trenches, which of course is the homeland. You can just see what I think is pretty typical representation of the war, just the destruction, bombed out small towns and just fields of barbed wire and howitzers. So I think this is just a stunning image, and you can see the mastery of both his just fantastical clothing and design, as well as handling of different types of fabrics, lush velvet and fur, these amazing tulle and lace, silks, just a stunning image. So this really got me into collecting this time period, and I love, especially if I can find any Eroart images. This is, of course, that paper that I keep to help things hold shape. And I do have a couple of modesty post-it notes because this is, as I said, a bit of a raunchy magazine. But I think these are super modern, right? Super fun. The art during this time period has so many different experimental styles. I think it's so fun. This is another great image that is celebrating the victory and saying, you know, long live America, England, Belgium, Italy, Serbia. So this is so cool to me. You have all these happy couples celebrating, and then all of the different troops coming home and sharing in the victory. This is so cute down here. The foreign troops. We have a returning soldier, and his lady is congratulating his dog, I love this right here with the cavalry, and they have flowers on their lances, which is so sweet, so romantic. And then we have again the allies up on this big gun here, just so lively and celebratory. A lot of wartime magazines tend to be really negative and very, I would say, aggressive, particularly in how they represent the enemy side, which is fascinating in its own right, but mean-spirited and not really something I'm quite as interested in. I love to see things like this. How are they representing their allies? These little humanizing moments I think are really fascinating. Just cute here, very cute. Early aviation. It's a really fascinating war. So much innovation, so much change to warfare. You have still the use of horses and cavalry, but you have airplanes and heavy artillery and scientific advances as well. It's just, I think, such a change and lead into the modern world. It's just where a lot of this came from. Here we have some more advertisements. Some men's clubs, military tailors. This is an advertisement for cocktails. To make a good cocktail is a science. To drink it is an art, I think. That's so cute. Demand to have New York bar fop. And their delicious cocktail 75. So cute, so cute. Here we have a list of different contemporary literature that you could order, all for a franc. And this is so cool, such a wartime ad, right? This is Gibbs on the front. Notre échantillon m'a sauvé la vie. So this saved my life from a letter of a soldier, an English soldier in Passchendaele in 1917. And yeah, you can see down here, this box survived in the pocket when it was hit by shrapnel and saved the life of a Tommy, which is a British soldier. I don't know what that says about the quality of this tooth powder, which is what gives it Silver Pulsoffice, but definitely the packaging holds up. That's so cool. My cat is maybe coming to say hello. And here we have the classifieds, or the searching for ads, which I also find so fascinating. So let's see. Par votre plume magique, gentille marraine parisienne, venez vite chasser le noir cafard qui obsède les pensées solitaires d'une lieutenant d'artillerie de 80 ans. Écrire. Moving my cat away from the camera before we have an accident. But that's amazing. That says, with your magic pen. Hello. You can say hello. And then we're going to get off the table. Alright, but where were we? With your magic pen, sweet Parisian girl, come quickly and chase the dark thoughts that darken or cloud solitary thoughts of an artillery lieutenant. Oh, that's so romantic. So romantic. We are 4 in Angolo, Edmond, Utour, Guyon, Theodore. Stuck in here. She's very curious. Stuck in the African bush, looking for young and pretty French girls. Women of the world are artists. Because we are sad. And we're looking for your correspondence, our guardian angels. That's so sweet. I think it's so much more romantic and has so much more personality than you would see today. Chase away the dark thoughts. Come quickly and chase away the dark thoughts which cloud my solitary mind. Ah, amazing. I would have answered to those ads. That would have gotten me. And then here we have a couple of other really fun ads. I love this. You can see men and women at the time were both sporting the wave curl, that very structured, short-haired curl. We have a lot of capis, raincoats, different military advertisements, perfume. We have flowers, medical equipment. Oh my goodness, this one's a really pretty hat. These are different medical treatments. This is very cool because it's trying to be scientific for the time, showing you a microscope view of microbes, which are very new. But this is an advertisement for kind of a cure-all for all sorts of things: psoriasis, eczema, acne, ulcers, syphilis. I don't know if it would have worked on any of those, but they're trying to seem very, very modern and scientific. Car ads, auto lessons, that's so cool. This would have been probably the first or one of the first generations to learn to drive, which is really fun to think about. And then down here we have the prettiest postcards. I think some of these, the sights of France, that's very innocent, but we have here some more risque offerings as well. Diable rose, l'amour offrande. Nos jolis artistes. They would be great for our 4 friends stuck in the African bush. They would have loved that. Parisienne mode of 1918. Ooh, La Femme et le Serpent. Very, very risque. I think that's so fascinating. We obviously have a male clientele. We have some risque items, some military items. We have flowers, perfume, hair products. I just think that's a fascinating peek that you wouldn't get just from the centerfolds themselves. And then on the back again, harkening back to one of the glory days of France, 18th century, with old songs for young persons. This is a very craft style. Very cute, very cute. By Georges Barbier. I think I'll probably cut there with just the one, but I do have many more magazines to show. I want to give each of them the full treatment they deserve. I think they're all equally fascinating and beautiful as well. So thank you for sharing a bit of my collection with me, including a cameo of my